welcome to another episode of the Metal Hammer of Doom podcast. I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, the author of the original Metal Hammer of Doom column that you can read every week when he decides to write it on the 411mania.com Music Zone. Here he is, folks. One of the three beards himself, Mr. Robert Cooper. How do you do, sir?
I do pretty well. Now, slight correction. I always decide to do it. It's whether or not I decide to get it on time.
But just be happy I managed to get through that much of the intro without falling all over myself or not knowing what podcast I was on.
That is true. I mean, it could be worse. It could be much worse. You could have said I was, I don't know, like Jeffrey Harris or something.
Can I just say that I know both of you follow me on Facebook, and I do a fair bit of podcasting, as we all know, and I do a fair bit of discussion about certain things. But there comes a point where I don't want to argue with people. I just that's what my podcasts are for. That's where we can have these discussions. But once the podcast is over, it's kind of like, my job as a social worker. When the clock stops and I've punched out for the day, I don't want to hear about anyone else's fucking problems anymore. Well, when the podcast is over, I don't want to talk about this shit anymore. I just want to go be with my family and be left alone. So when I see sometimes that Jeff has decided to start yelling and screaming at me via Facebook, I have part of my reaction is to ignore it, and that's ultimately what I give way to. But there's a huge part of it that's just like, seriously, go the fuck away.
Yeah, I saw that this week. He's like, what Robert said is you should have corrected him on that, Mark. That was unexcusable.
Yeah, I mean, God, if you're listening, God, I love you, Jeff Harris. But when we're not podcasting, please leave me alone, for God's sake. But it's my own fault. It's my own fault for sharing anything at all ever on Facebook. That's what I say.
Exactly. But hey, at least you actually share things on Facebook. It's good. I like hearing thoughts from Mark's brain.
I've had a whole bunch regarding Breaking Bad tonight.
I know, it's awesome.
I'm like, every time that's the one thing, and I noticed this about myself when I was watching SummerSlam and Raw. That more so with Raw last night, that social media has allowed that sort of transcendental type thinking, where I never remember what the phrase is called, but where basically just if you think it, you say it. Stream of consciousness. It allows a stream of consciousness to exist that otherwise, and to be shared with the world that otherwise wouldn't really be there. So, like, every stupid thought I had or every dumb thing that I thought was funny had to be on Twitter, and to a lesser extent Facebook. Yeah, well, I guess that's what Twitter for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's a man who wants no part of this discussion, but would like to talk about the album that we're going to review tonight. Here he is, folks, another 411 music alumnist and video game writer, Sean Gomer. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Hello. How are you, sir?
You all right? What's going on over there?
Oh, it's going okay. Just putting the kid to bed and, finally it's kind of quiet, so I guess it's a good time to listen to some music and talk about it. Why not?
Does your kid get out of bed like mine does in the middle of the night, and then do you do like I do, like Caitlyn to AJ on SummerSlam, just spear her back in the bed?
We still have to have the rail on the one side, so I can't technically spear her into the bed because that would require me to pick her up and then I guess spear her into it. But
be more of a spine buster.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. She's kind of feisty. Sometimes it requires more like a power bomb or something.
Every time Lily got out of the bed last night, and she got out a few times, I would quick throw my headphones down, jump in the hallway. What do you think you're doing? And she's like, "Dad, but busted." And she would run back inside again. every single time.
Once you learn how to open doors, it really sucks. Because then you're like, oh crap, door open. Where are they going to go?
Just like Velociraptors.
I used to be able to run my house like a maximum security prison. I now have to run it like a minimum security jail. It really bothers me.
Yeah.
I have to do nightly patrols.
You have to put everything in a spot. And the thing that sucks is even though you think it's a jail, you think you'll put something somewhere and they will find a way to get to it. Doesn't matter what you do. They just find it.
Yeah, that is for sure. At least we're out of the stage now where she's trying to eat it all. I don't have to worry about her choking as she tries to put the entire contents of the house.
Thankfully, mine never did that.
Oh, no.
I still never learned.
That is Robert Cooper's favorite. That is Robert Cooper's theme song. Just put it in your mouth, in your motherfucking mouth.
There's like so many bad avenues you can go with.
No, I think my theme song is more like I don't know how to close my mouth because poor Sean's got a possible 5 hours of podcasting with me tonight.
All right. So speaking of 5 hours of podcasting, let's get to the first hour of this one. Folks, tonight it's Robert's pick, and we are going with one of his favorite bands of all time, not Megadeth, but Amon Amarth, and they have a new album, Deceiver of the Gods, which came out June 25th, 2013, of the melodic death metal genre, referred by Odin it was. Robert, tell us what it is about this. I mean, when you think about melodic death metal and Swedish melodic death metal, there's a lot of bands that fall into that category. Why Amon Amarth in particular? What is it about them that makes them so wonderful, as Bill Cosby would say?
Well, there's the whole. I love their lyrical themes. A lot of things about battle and Odin, and I guess just like what tales of the life of a Swedish warrior. I just love their lyrical themes. The music's pretty awesome. It's kind of got like almost an AC/DC Motorhead type of thing, to where you know what you're gonna get, but you're not disappointed, especially if you're a fan. Like this album we got tonight, great album. I don't think I've ever heard really a bad album or a bad song by them because they know what they're doing, and they do a damn good job of what they have. The guitars are always there's almost always a pretty good riff behind the song. Solos are great, and their first album actually had Martin Lopez of Opeth on drums, just for a little bit of trivia. Their drums are always great, and of course Johan Haig, the vocalist, is one of my favorite of all time because he is so much fun to go down the road just growling along with. So much fun. But yeah, that is many of the reasons why I love Amon Amarth. Pretty much, if I just boil it down to one little phrase, is like, they're fucking Amon Amarth.
It was one of the bands that I didn't pay much attention to prior to Rockstar Mayhem and your insistence that I was missing out. So this is really the first. So Rockstar Mayhem was really the first time I sat down and really listened to them, and this is the first album I've digested. We talked in the last podcast how much I loved their opener from Rockstar Mayhem, Destroyer of the Universe, and I thought, gee whiz, I really should have been listening to this band all along. This album is tight. This album is exciting. It's, I know after the last podcast, my head was not in the game. B, after a while, I just ran out of shit to say. After a few tracks, I just ran out of shit to say. It wasn't that Children of Bodom put out a bad album. It was a Children of Bodom album, and that was all I had to say about it. There's a lot of really interesting things going on, and we're going to get to the first track in just a moment. Sean Garmer, what's your take on Amon Amarth, if anything at all?
Well, like you, this is my first time really getting to digest them at all. Me and Robert have this joke that he always likes to throw at me because I accidentally mistaken them for there was a song by Nightwish that has Amon Amarth but not spelled the same way at all. And I thought it was Amaranthi or whatever. See, I just screwed up again. And either way, I thought he was talking about them, so I got it completely wrong. And I was happy to know that we're talking about a band that sings about Odin and Thor and all these great Norse happenings and mythology. And I don't really like, as I said last time, I'm not a big fan of the growling thing and whatever, but I can deal with the growling when there's great instrumentation behind it. And they have a lot of influences. I do agree they're very consistent. They're consistent throughout this entire album, through some of their other albums. I played a couple of their other songs just to kind of see how it was. There's a lot of new album bands in there with their influence too, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. On some of these songs, I kind of got that tinge, so I kind of enjoyed it. There was times where I was like, I'm hoping I get a solo so I don't have to hear the growling. But other than that, it was fun to listen to. It was different for me, so.
Yeah, they actually sound like real songs, and I'm almost with you in terms of the growling. Now, I mean, I don't mind the growling, but the growling has to be set against interesting musicianship. If it's not to say that I don't like, traditional American death metal, but I can only listen to it so much because, much like techno, after a while it's the same shit over and over and over and over again. So what I like about bands like this is that while the vocals are obviously static in terms of there's not much change, it isn't like, in one song they're singing kind of high, and another, this isn't Def Leppard we're talking about here, as we all know. But what makes the band interesting is the as you said, the musicianship, the songwriting. I enjoy the themes too. I'm a big fan of Thor and gods, whether they be Roman, Norse, or Greek. Obviously, this has been one of my complaints about the hip hop genre, is that it tends to be about cash, bitches, and drugs, and that's all it's ever been about. Whereas metal tends to play around with different ideas. I love that fact that there are so many subgenres of metal because these bands have taken certain themes and gone so far with them that the fact that we have to have a subgenre called battle metal because there's specifically bands writing heavy metal songs for going into battle to fight the dragon or whatever. I mean that's fantastic. They just put out an album recently, Terrasis, and that is their bag all day long. Let's go ahead and listen to the title track, first track of this album. Get a little piece of it for you here. This is from the album Deceiver of the Gods, track 1, Deceiver of the Gods. I think we can safely say that the vocals on this album are, if you listen to it closely enough, are at least intelligible. I have a friend of mine who, when we heard them at Rockstar Mayhem, just looked at me and goes, "Do you even know what he's saying?" And Robert and I have had this conversation about this particular friend and his belief, if you can't understand what they're saying, the song is worthless. But
Dragon Force.
Let's not go there.
Hey, don't hate on Dragon Force.
No, we don't. No, this particular friend thought something about Machine Head sounded a lot like Dragon Force, and I asked him if he had gotten into meth. But my point on this, and then I'll open it up to the floor. Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to that, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's growly, but I can understand what he's saying, and if you listen to it closely enough, you can follow along with the song and get the lyrics. They really nice thrashy sound there. Really kicked it. First track of the album really kicked it off, got it going. No complaints about this. Just an awesome song. Robert.
One thing I must say that I didn't notice until I listened to this album a few times through. They really open with just a straight growl a lot of times, which doesn't bother me at all, because anytime I get to go, wow, just anytime I get to do that out of nowhere, it's great. But I was like, sometimes I'm like, maybe they can add part of the lyrics into that. But, yeah, this song, speaking of being able to understand the lyrics, this song is the one I know the most off the album because it was a free download, and it probably still is. So I listened to the song a gajillion times. But this song is called Deceiver of the Gods. It's about Loki, as the song tells. It's about how Asgard has always been his home, but he walks a different path, and he's, half frost giant, but other death. But yeah, this song, I love the lyrical themes, as we've said. This album has a lot to do with Loki, as I think the next song is about Loki, as the last song was about Loki. And the instrumentation's great. It does have a nice thrashy, but there's not many down, like kind of the slower songs. There's one that I can think of off the top of my head on this album, and I think there's a reason for that. And when we get to that song, I'll tell you. But yeah, pretty much this song, it's really great opener. This band has great openers. Yeah.
Sean Garmer, let me ask you a question. Do you think somebody who isn't particularly familiar with the genre or metal in general might take a look at this and go, oh, they're just piggybacking off the popularity of Marvel Comics and Thor and all of that? What would you say to that person?
Well, you obviously don't do any research because these guys have been around since '88, I think, and they've changed band members a few times. But their first album came out in '98, and they've been around since then. So that's way before we had any of these movies come out, before comics had a resurgence and all that. So, I mean, and if you take a look back to the '80s, Man of War is the one that made a lot of this battle metal kind of popular, and they do it with clean vocals, but it's still the same kind of thing, gods and all that stuff. So, to me, all you have to do is look at the discography, where it comes from. It's consistent. It's about a lot of the same things, but they're kind of creative in the way that they frame their albums more. It seems that each one is kind of focused around certain gods or certain themes, and they change as the albums go. So, yeah, somebody saying that we use Thor, and Thor's a Marvel character, cool. Maybe it gets you into it now, but it's certainly not piggybacking off anything.
Keeping with that for just a moment, I had a friend of mine about 10 years or so ago. He got me into Blind Guardian, and he was initially dismissive of Blind Guardian, and he knew how much I liked progressive metal and whatnot, and he's like, well, if you like that, you're going to like this, but I'm not wild about it. He since came around, and he likes almost the same kind of stuff that I do, but he was saying at the time, in the sense that I said he was being dismissive of it, he referred to Blind Guardian as D&D metal, and it referred to the fact that a lot of Blind Guardian music thematically talks about a lot of the gods and a lot of Tolkien-esque stuff, and you find these themes throughout metal and a variety of metal genres across the board. Why do you think that, keeping with you for a moment, Sean, why do you think that is? Why metal and Tolkien and the whole concept of gods, whichever they may be, why is that all sort of tied together?
Just because it does provide a huge scope to go through in these songs, especially if you're one of these like progressive bands that have the longer tunes like some of these on this album does. There's a story that's already there. now you can frame a song around it, take a piece of that story, like Loki is a huge part of this album. You can take parts of the Loki myth and let's create a story around him for this song.
Yeah, but then why don't rappers? I'm trying to get at something very specific.
Because it's not cool for rappers. Really? You're gonna tell me Run DMC is gonna have a Lord of the Rings album? I mean, no, that wasn't gonna happen.
I would love that. I would just love to see the world's reaction to Lil Wayne rapping about the Silmarillion.
All right, okay. Well, you said it wasn't cool. I think we can go a little deeper than that. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's pause this because I think this is a bigger topic than, and I don't want to spend the next hour on this and then we don't play any music. So let's take a short break here. Let's play track 2 because we've been mentioning him a lot now. This is As Loki Falls, and then we'll come back to this idea of why is it that all us metal folks are into this sort of thing and rappers are into money, bitches, and drugs. Okay. So getting back to the topic at hand, by the way, that was a Boss song. Very, very good. Enjoyed that little gallop in there. Sean and then Robert, we were talking about why is it, and I don't want to necessarily classify it by race. We'll stick strictly with those who appreciate certain types of music or are musicians of a certain genre. Again, we here in the metal, rock and roll sort of always revolved around Dungeons and Dragons and sci-fi and mythology, Tolkien, all of that. There's a fantasy, really, to sum it all up. Fantasy and sci-fi, those are huge staples of metal, whether it be death, progressive, etc. Why? Why do you think that is? And why haven't other musicians of other genres sort of taken that as their own like we have? Why do you think, at least?
Because metal is okay with being its own thing. It doesn't want to change for anyone. They do what they want to do, and look at Iron Maiden. They made a whole song about Rama the Ancient Mariner. Who else would have done that? No one. It's just they write songs about what they want to write about, whether it's Tolkien, whether it's other literary works. You don't see that in other works of pop culture where it's played on the radio. No one. I'm sorry to say, I'm not trying to bash it. This is why I love metal, because it has its own creativity that other genres don't have. Because seriously, AC/DC would have sat there and wrote about Tolkien, and they would have had awesome rock songs based on that. No, I mean, you're not going to have rap songs based on that because they're probably not going to get airplay because they're going to be like, these lyrics are confusing. It doesn't get straight to the point. There's a lot of meandering sometimes. You have to actually sometimes dig deep to get the story. You have to know the story beforehand, have read the book, read the comic, read the whatever. They talk about partying and bitches and hoes and whatever because it's something that a lot of people do. Same thing with rock in the 80s. Everybody partied, everybody drank. It's easy to talk about, you know.
But even metal bands of the 80s drifted off the beaten path. I mean, just as Motley Crue wrote plenty of songs about partying, but they also wrote songs about the devil. They wrote songs about other stuff that was going on. I think any kind of artist is going to draw from their own personal experiences, tastes, and such. And a lot of these people, and this is my answer, this is what I want to go over to Robert, I think you write what you know. And I don't know too many rappers who play, who grew up in the projects playing Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know. You don't have too many of them telling stories in interviews about how their father took them to go see Star Wars or Star Trek. You don't hear that sort of thing. That mostly comes out of people who go on to play metal. And so that's what they write about. And again, I'm not going to slight necessarily a lot of the rappers. If they're writing from their own experiences, let's say a Tupac Shakur, he's going to write a song about how his mom, who was a crackhead, tried to figure it all out in the projects. That's his experience. Bruce Dickinson's probably not going to write about that. Bruce Dickinson's going to write about Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner because he read it in school, because he went, as opposed to Tupac. Robert, your thoughts on this?
Well, I definitely agree with that. They're going to go with what they know, because if you look at almost every other genre, like rap and hip-hop genre, most of those guys, as you said, they're more of the urban type. They grew up kind of closer to the streets and didn't really get to go out to the fantasy world because they were just kind of stuck in the reality. And same thing goes for like a lot of other genres. Now, rock does have some fantasy elements. You got some of your Led Zeppelin songs that are a little out there. That's probably because they were on some types of drugs. But I think the reason why fantasy and metal go so well together is because of the fact that they're both two genres, one in literature and art and the other one in music. They're both really kind of, I almost want to say superhuman. They're away from everything else, like metal.
Are they more human than human?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're more. Yeah, I like that reference there. But yeah, like they're more. Like, most metal, you wouldn't, it's kind of almost an otherworldly thing. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. It's not something that is naturally man-made. Like, stories about fantasy, you're not going to see that come to life in real life. Just like metal, we wouldn't be able to do metal if it weren't for technology. I think it's just a nice pairing. Like, they're both kind of out there, and they fit really well together. Especially
so metal is made for escapism.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it is really made for escapism because a lot of other genres, well, besides pop music, but pop music's not the same type of escapism. That's not talking about fantasy. It's trying to make you live out your inner fantasy of being rich and popular and famous that you'll probably never get to. Ugh. I did the top 5 worst songs of the summer last night.
I think pop music is also very much focused on an audience of people who are not thinking too much about the music. They're not thinking too hard about it. It's the if it's got a beat I can dance to, and I don't have to think too much, then it's going to be popular. I'm going to enjoy it. Whereas metal may put a bit of a tax on you that you have to sit and think about some of this stuff, and I ain't got that kind of time. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that.
That's right. All right.
Yeah, that is true. But you also do have metal that is just pure. In terms of lyrical content, it's just total crap.
Sure.
I fully acknowledge that.
and we are speaking in broad generalizations here, because the one genre that that I think defies all of this is country music. Obviously, country is not metal, but Jesus Christ, if country gets into some degree of mythology, its own mythology. It also gets into stories, and it's certainly music that makes you think. It may not be in your wheelhouse, perhaps, but it's as close to metal as you're going to get in terms of thematic quality.
Yeah, because all the old school country was all stories and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of like that and like blues. Yeah, they were all like that. Now, new country is literally like half of it is literally pop music with a country twang.
Well, yeah, but
Let's go to track 3 here. This is Father of the Wolf. Speaking of It's good, but very familiar sounding. What do you think about that, Robert?
Actually, I have an answer to this. The beginning riff, I doubt you've heard of their album that was 3 albums ago, with Odin on Our Side. This is a very, very similar riff to their opening song, Valhalla Awaits Me. It is, like, when I first heard it, I was like, man, it sounds a lot like Valhalla Awaits Me, which I love that song. But yeah, it has a very familiar quality, and this song itself doesn't really go as far as the other two. But I'm reading the lyrics as the song is playing, and the first song is about Loki. The second song was about him versus what was his name? Him versus Heimdall. Yeah, those two coming at it, and him decapitating Loki. And then this song is about Loki being reborn. So just a little. I'm reading the lyrics thing. Yeah, this is about like him being reborn, and he's the bane of Odin. Yeah. But yeah, this song was this song isn't one of the best, but it's still solid. It's still a solid song. I get it now.
Yeah, if you again, this is one of those where if it's in the background as I'm driving, I'm not going to pick up on the fact that, hey, I've heard this song I feel like a zillion times before. You understand what I'm saying, Sean? It's just a very familiar sounding metal song. It may obviously have different lyrics, but it's still that orchestration, that the way they brought that song together just seemed very ordinary.
Yeah, there wasn't much variety to it. It kind of just goes along at a very, like y'all said, metalist pace. It's actually one of the few times where I can understand him, the lyrics, without really having to sit there and go, okay, is this what he's saying? Is this really what he's saying? Because he shouts the Father of the Wolf thing pretty clearly and loudly that you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting this, It continues the theme, but it's not like the other two. There's a little bit of, like y'all said, just general things here. Doesn't mean it's bad at all, though.
A little filler.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on previous podcasts. Filler isn't by itself a bad thing. It's just not. It's hard to talk about it because it's kind of like saying, okay, and here's a song that's serviceable, and serviceable doesn't really lend itself to lengthy discussion, right, Robert?
Yeah, it doesn't. Sometimes a whole album of just good tracks could lead to awful discussion, like last time.
I wasn't even drunk or anything. That's the sad part about that whole podcast.
I was depressed. You were busy looking for a Batman Superman comic. Did you ever find it, by the way?
No, I've gave up. My obsession of the last 2 weeks has been Breaking Bad.
Oh, good. That is a good obsession.
Yes.
Yes, Breaking Bad is awesome.
Oh,
Sean, did I send you an invite to the post-series finale discussion?
No, you didn't.
Would you like to be invited?
You should. Yes.
Okay, I will invite you. We're going to do a Google Hangout. I mean, I'm not going to put anybody on camera because God knows I don't want to be seen on camera. Why should anyone else want to? But we're going to do a Google Hangout, which allows multiple people to be on at the same time, and I'll just have it centered on like the Breaking Bad logo or something. But yeah, I want it. But as soon as the episode ends, about 10 minutes after, I want everyone to kind of gather on and let's just kind of have that post-diner discussion, discussion at a diner kind of a thing where we just sort of exhale on the series and the series finale itself. So I'll go ahead and do that while we listen to track 4. This is called Shapeshifter. I like the gallop in that. The gallop is definitely the best part of that song, Robert.
I agree. It has a really nice gallop to it, and that is the majority of the song. This is another one that's not as good as the first two, but again, reading the lyrics, this song is actually from the, as you can tell, from the perspective of Loki, which I like that because I always like it to hear the character being spoken about, actually talking. And he's talking about, he's the shapeshifter, he's the deceiver. And I love the line later how he's like, you curse my name, but it's your fault because goodness needs chaos to balance everything out. I love that. Like the lyrics in this album, actually, like after reading through them, I never really good reading lyrics, but yeah, I was like, wow, this is actually really well done.
Go ahead, Robert.
Oh yeah, I was just I think it's really well done. I would expect the guys to be total idiots, but I wouldn't expect it to be this well crafted.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean, like you wouldn't have expected it to be well crafted? What was the expectation?
Well, I mean, the expectation was I was expecting more of almost like a straight story. Like this has a lot of stuff that I would see in poetry. Like the wordings are different. It's not so straightforward. It actually feels almost like poetry. Because, I mean, I know music really is poetry when you look at it, especially in the lyrics. But I expected more like, kind of more of a straightforward, because you don't expect guys with giant beards singing about Odin to really come across as like really intelligent and know what they're talking about. But damn, they've done it.
I would like to read you a poem. Since you said all music is poetry, I would like to read you a poem and get your reaction to it. Are you ready?
Skeet, motherfucker. Yes, I'm ready.
You can find me in St. Louis where the gunplay ring all day. Na na na. Some got jobs and some sell yay. Others just smoke and fuck all day. Na na na. You're right. Very poetic.
Is it the Ballad of Robert Winfrey?
Yes, it is.
As soon as you said St. Louis, I'm like, there's either Nelly or I have to make a Robert Winfrey reference.
That was an old gag between a friend of mine and I, where I think the WWE was in St. Louis one year, and this is when we used to write the peeing on the pay-per-view column, where basically we just wrote like an Airplane the movie style type, Zucker Brothers type parody of the WWE pay-per-view of that particular month. And they, like I said, they were in St. Louis, and we wrote it where like Nelly was at the pay-per-view, and I think that it was something along, like he sang the. We had Nelly singing the national anthem, and he had to be taken off stage because no matter how much he insisted, it was not the land of the free. It was something along the lines of, it was not the land of the free, where you can just smoke and fuck all day. And we kept using that line constantly.
I knew it had to be Nelly, because he's the only person from St. Louis doing music that really matters.
I'm from the home of Red Fox, said the entertainer, jetting off with Brian Cox. I'll see you later. Sean, what do you make of all this?
There is a lot of music that can be poetry, and it actually works for the song because it's what Loki is. He is a magician, a mischievous person. He does shapeshift. So he has that ability, and so it shows a different side, like Robert said, but it fits with the song. He's shape-shifting the song itself into a different form to express what he wants. It does show intelligence, but just the fact that you're talking about Norse gods anyway, and such a manner that he does already shows intelligence, because dang, that's a lot of studying you got to do about their mythology to be able to do so many songs about these gods.
Right, especially because they've come out with like an album like every 2 years for a long while. It's a lot of mythology.
Mythology in music seems to be more popular in Europe than in America. A lot of the American metal bands, we were talking about this just with regards to my experience at Rockstar Mayhem. Americans tend to be very bro-fixated. So you got your Hatebreeds and your Five Finger Death Punch, and a lot of songs that are related to the American socio-political economic system, the the military industrial complex. We Americans tend to write music that reflects frustration over being the leader of the free world. And yes, I'm purposely being sarcastic when I say that. Whereas European metal, they don't seem to be railing against the government as much. They tend to be, as we've been saying, fixated on mythology. So any thoughts about that, Sean?
That just is a common theme for a lot of American music. Bob Dylan did it. The Beatles did it. It all goes, there's so many other John Lennon later when he went by himself, all the way to different genres of music that's a lot of what American music is. It's trying to change the establishment, whatever, either doing the pop thing where you don't have to think about it, or they're trying to convey a message. Whereas you get these other European bands and they're like, you know what, who cares about all this reality stuff? Let's go on an escape. Let's go on some kind of fantasy twist here and take you through the worlds of Valhalla or the worlds of Lord of the Rings or whatever it is that they want to talk about in their songs that day. It makes more sense. And I think it's also because when you think of these places they're talking about, you think about Europe more than you think about America. When I'm thinking about these fields and these whatever, I'm thinking about like Ireland and all the places where they filmed Game of Thrones, basically. That's what I'm thinking about, and it's not in America. So
sure. Certainly, if you're listening to Viking metal, you're going to think Norway. You're going to think the fjords and such.
Yeah,
right.
I think honestly the reason why America doesn't have much mythological songs is because America is not really a mythological. We don't really have a history of mythology based in this country, like where this country is.
Yeah, like what are we going to sing about, the Cowboys and Indians?
No, we're going to think about Star Wars.
No, well, you've got Native American mythology, which honestly I think is a really fresh, good, untapped resource.
White people don't give a shit about that. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how many white people know about Native American mythology?
Exactly. Well, no, I'm saying it's a really good untapped resource because nobody fucking sings about it. But we've got that, and then our mythology.
Your name on this podcast is very close to becoming Rob Cry for the Indians, Cooper.
Hey, that is a great fucking song. You lay it off. No, I mean, hey, I've got Clamato on my side. I can never be seen as sympathetic towards minorities. But I mean, our mythology. I mean, the mythology here is pretty much Native American, and you've got Christianity, which, however you see it, can be seen as mythology.
Are you saying
I
that
guess they can sing about the Crusades.
I was going to say, are you saying our Lord Jesus Christ is a myth?
Is it what? No.
Are you saying, Robert Cooper, on the Metal Hammer of Doom podcast, that our Lord Jesus Christ is just a myth?
I don't see it that way, but some might. Just like
they could just start doing the Da Vinci Code thing and start making conspiracy theory metal or whatever.
I'm so thinking like Robert's like pulling on his collar now, going, "Oh, I didn't sign on for this."
Well, no. Well, I mean, you look at it back in the days of the worship of the Odin and stuff. They weren't seen. I mean, they were seen as just as equal as a god as the Christian gods. My God, I like the guy. He's a cool guy. It's the same thing. Now in Europe, you've got your Norse gods, your Greek gods, your Roman gods, and honestly, I don't see much about Egyptian gods besides Nile, and that's ironic because it's a bunch of assholes from South Carolina. It's a much richer in terms of mythological, I guess, history there than it is here. Then we do have a lot of fixation on being a bro. Oh, bros. Oh, actually, I kind of went on a little rant about Five Finger Death Punch because I'm like, the album got number 2. That kind of makes me sad because they're shit. I'm like, but I'm not going to go into detail unless you ask, which is my way of saying, please ask me, but if you don't, that's fine. So somebody asked me. I just went on a huge rant. Oh, no, I almost hate
I guess you're going to hate me by saying that I don't mind Five Finger Death Punch. But
oh, no, Mark doesn't either. I mean,
Mark loves Five Finger Death Punch. He won't go see him in concert again, but I love Five Finger Death Punch.
You'll be proud, by the way, Mark. I almost bought a Hatebreed album today.
Any particular reason?
Really? It was $1.50 at a thrift store. I mean, that's the same reason I bought I bought a Hatebreed shirt from the place for like $2. It's comfy.
Robert, instead of buying things that are cheap just because they're cheap and not, but you don't necessarily like them, why don't you just save your money and buy stock?
Are you kidding me? I'm 21. Why the fuck would I buy stock?
He's not going to know what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't usually I've really stopped blowing my money on stuff just because it's cheap, because I'm like, you know what? This money doesn't come very often. I need to save it for when I run across something like
Sean, this is what we do. See, I'm 9,000 years old, and Robert is badly out of diapers, so I have to throw guidance that he didn't ask for and doesn't really want.
Hey, at least I'm not taking this podcast on like a wild tangent ride like I do to Randall.
No, that's what I do on the Casual Heroes, but that's a whole other conversation. All right, let's get on to track 5 here. One of the longer tracks on the album. At 6 minutes and 17 seconds. We're going to play a portion of that now. This is called Under Siege. that's very traditional sounding. Very, very close to death metal. It wasn't especially epic or progressive in its intensity. It just, just sounded like your usual kind of. I'm going to use the word uninspired, and here's why. Because I actually want to read you from the Wikipedia page. This is sort of a summation of the album's reception, and I want to get your reaction to this first, Robert, and then Sean. According to Metacritic, the album received generally favorable reviews based on 7 critics, with an aggregate score of 67 out of 100. AllMusic praised the album for balancing unyielding blasts of Viking brutality. How many Vikings have they come across? With artful melodies. While Exclaim.ca similarly awarded a favorable score for the band's mixture of soaring melodies with the raw precision of rhythms, which we also came to that conclusion as well. But here's where it gets interesting. However, Pitchfork, the magazine, not the band, criticized the album as formulaic and uninspired, while About.com described the album as a letdown due to Amon Amarth's playing it safe approach. Playing it safe, Robert, is that what happened here? Were they playing it safe and therefore it was uninspired?
I could see the argument, especially for this song, because this song actually takes a weird turn. Like the last 4 songs have been about really around Loki. This one is a very basic. At the beginning, they're like, oh, yeah, we've got somebody sieging us, and we're fine. And then all of a sudden, there's reinforcements that aren't showing. The food is running out. And by the end, the only thing, as the line says, the only thing that is left to choose is how they're going to die. So this song really, I would say, yeah, this song is a bit safe. Like I said, overall, as we'll get to the end, I do love this album, but yeah, this is really kind of a safe choice for a song, which is disappointing because usually this band is not, even when they're playing it safe, it really is above a lot of your generic death metal band, which I guess is why I love them so much, because they are not your generic death metal band.
Sean, what were your thoughts on the general reception of the thing, especially the Pitchfork calling it formulaic and uninspired?
Well, I mean, as Robert said, this song in particular does kind of play it on the safe side, but I would say that they're not generic. I would say it's more of like I said at the beginning, there's a consistency about them. Robert compared them to AC/DC. What does AC/DC do? Do you know what you're getting from them? It's depending on anybody's view, really. Some people are going to say it's formulaic. Some people are just going to say, look, we know what you're going to get. It's songs about the gods and Norse mythology and whatever, but give them credit because they come up with different instrumentation for almost every song. Some of it does sound like stuff you hear everywhere else, but that's not every song. Each of the songs before we got to this one, in the introduction, it sounded different. There's a gallop there. There's something that introduces you, gets you ready, especially the Deceiver of the Gods. I mean, to me, I think it's at times kind of lazy writing, honestly, on the reviewer's part, to go, well, I don't really know that I'm delving deep here to try to find something. It's just kind of like, okay, well, maybe I've heard a couple of their albums, and I don't know that maybe this doesn't sound too much different, so, I'm just going to say this, and instead of trying to find why this album might be different from the others, So
I feel like what you're saying is the writer didn't really listen to it. It just sort of gave it a scant listen and then started writing a review that isn't truly reflective of somebody who digested the album.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing goes on Metal Archives for this album in particular. Most of the reactions pretty positive, but right now it's got I think a 78 or something like that. Because most of the people are like, this is another really good album. It's got some great songs and great songwriting. Then there's a 2 or 3 people this is really tired. We've been there, done that. This band is really starting to wear thin. So yeah, I think it's they're starting to get a little bit of that, as I said, the AC/DC kind of factor. We know what you're going to get, but at the same time, this song here, even if it is just kind of a typical story, it still is told fairly well, and it wraps up nicely. And as each verse goes by, it progresses.
Okay, let's move on to track 6. This is Blood Eagle. I was digging that, man. I could have definitely listened to that whole thing. I like that dun 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 dun, you know, as they're doing the chorus. Kind of had a tinge of punk in there, just sort of straightforward. I was liking it. You know, I think sometimes with a lot of metal bands, they can sort of get lost in trying to out epic themselves and other bands. Sometimes you just got to play a straightforward, in your face song, and it was nice, especially after the last two, to kind of get back to that on this album.
Yeah, I agree. Lyrically, this song is kind of like the last one. Nothing really that grand. This is about a guy who's going to kill people and wants revenge and Blood Eagle. Yeah, so I must say, yeah, the instrumentation of the song is great. It's a really fun song, and it's really kind of catches you and just leaves you go it leaves you going to the house. Like before this podcast, I was just like going Blood Eagle, just everywhere, just Blood Eagle.
It's almost like what is the band that we? It was the very first one that we did. Metalocalypse. Yeah, very Death Clock sounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Exactly.
It did
that sounds a lot like that.
Yeah, it did have that feel.
Yeah, Sean, you agree? It was very Death Clock sounding.
Yeah, I mean, it was escaping, but I was like, it sounds like their theme song almost, kind of. But it's not in a bad way. Just saying that, but it gets you ready for the show. Like that's what I got from this song. It's like this guy's about ready to go in and start killing some people, and he's going into battle, and that's what you get. Like the introduction is very like, all right. Like almost kind of like we're marching to the beat of we're getting ready to go in and slaughter some whatever, and it gets you into it. Like, all right, I think after hearing this, I'm ready to go slaughter some people. You know.
At some point, does he ask in the song?
Not literally.
At some point, does he ask at some point in the song, would you like some ketchup?
I would. Nothing goes better with carnage and bloodshed than ketchup. Because
I am right about that, right? That's what everyone thinks they're saying at the beginning of Death Clock. Would you like some ketchup?
Would you like some ketchup? Would you like some ketchup? Would you like some ketchup?
Musta, Fraka, would you like some ketchup? Would you like some ketchup? That's great.
Now that I don't know if I'm going to be able to unhear that now.
You're welcome.
Because I know it's just like something about TikTok, but yeah. Damn ketchup. It's kind of like every time I hear Hold the Line by Toto, I think Pokemon.
No, I have a friend who...
Oh, my God.
If he ever listens to this podcast, I don't even know if he remembers this, but I don't know if you remember the cover song that was on the Crow album by Pantera, The Badge. At the end of The Badge, Phil Anselmo yells out either like look or what's behind the badge. And I remember my friend just blurted out one day, "What big eyes you have!" I will never be able to unhear that now whenever I hear that song. I will walk around, if I have the badge stuck in my head, I will actually walk around work and just blurt out what big eyes you have.
Yeah, like I said with the Toto, if I have to hold the line, I'm going Pokemon, and Mom's like, no, it does not sound like that. So I'll keep walking around the house doing it.
No, it does not sound like that, Robert.
Yes, it does. Go listen to the two beside each other. Hold the line, it's Pokemon. No. It does. It totally does.
There's an entire book of this sort of thing where,
Really?
misheard. Yeah, there's an entire book of misheard lyrics. It's called "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy."
Oh, is that? Oh, because of Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah, but
because you said that in the live version and whatever.
Yeah, Rock the Casbah is one of the top ones, I'm sure. Rock the Casbah. Shit, what's that one?
That Hold Me
I think
Closer.
Rock the Casbah.
Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza.
Blinded by the Light. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was revved up like a douche.
Moving right along. This is track 7. This is what we've done with this podcast. This is called We Shall Destroy. I said we shall destroy. Okay, we seem to have momentarily lost Sean. Hopefully he'll dial back in again. Robert, We Shall Destroy. Tell me all about it.
We did?
Sean.
There we go.
Sean was not the one that dropped off. That was Robert who dropped off for some odd reason. Robert, where'd you go?
I don't know. I think my phone dropped the call because I was like, yeah, this is a pretty cool song. And I'm like, why did the song cut off so quickly?
Okay. Moving right along. So, well, you've heard the song, obviously, before. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Well, We Shall Destroy is another... Like, I think they abandoned the Loki theme, really. Like, I'm pretty sure they did, but or at least maybe
what is this, WWE... Wait, what is this? WWE writing, where midway through a storyline, they just abandon it and move on to something else?
I see what you did there. You know, I'm so excited about this new evolution they got going on. But yeah, just
to give them credit, there's no rule that says you have to have continuity in music.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, because they might pick this. I'm sure they'll pick up the Loki stuff later because their last. I mean, Twilight of the Thunder God was about Thor, Surtur Rising was about Ragnarok, and this one was about Loki. So you never know. But yeah, the instrumentation, great, a lot of fun. The songs, your typical, like, you know, brothers pick up the armor and the swords and shields and gonna raise hell on the battlefield. Yeah.
I'm just looking at their peak positions for Deceiver of the Gods. In Sweden, it was number 9. In I believe that's all. Yeah, Austria, they were number 7. Belgium 50. 78, Finland 12, France 67, Switzerland 9, and in the U.S. they actually got as high as 19. I'm really surprised by that. In Germany they were number 3. What do you make of that, Sean? Yeah. Anything at all?
Well, USA is higher than some of these other countries that are close to them. So
yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting. Following. Yeah, what do you think, Robert? Can't really make a tremendous amount of sense here out of their chart positions vis-a-vis these different countries in the United States. Any thoughts on how the hell, first of all, they got as high in the U.S. as they did versus some of these other places?
Well, first, I just want to say I actually bought this album the first week, so I'm patting myself on the back. That is the only album for the year I will buy week 1, guaranteed. Last year was Testament. This year was Amon Amarth. But I think the Mayhem Festival really helped. Because, you know, there's a lot of exposure that comes with that. Because, as you said, a lot of the audience there was a bunch of, you know, there was a lot of a younger crowd that might not have heard this band and are there for your Screamo band. And maybe they got, you know, introduced to this Mayhem Festival and were really impressed and used their mama's and daddy's money to buy it. You know, well, it's definitely well-deserved. I think death metal, honestly, especially this album, it's really accessible. It's not anything too pretentious. It's got a nice beat. The themes aren't that really crazy. You know, it's not that hard to understand. It's got a lot of accessibility to it.
Yeah, I think for what it is, it's fairly accessible. Though I would tell you, there are obviously some people who would listen to this and go, "Oh, you're crazy! I'm not gonna listen to nobody screaming at me, the growling. That's scary."
Well, yeah, but Metallica got three straight weeks of a number one, and I'm sure people would do the same for them. Metal in general, you're going to have a lot of people like, "Oh, this is shit."
Sean, did you want to say something?
No, I mean...
No, okay.
Yeah, I would go on with what you said, that the whole amount of people that go, I don't know, this growling thing is kind of weird. I know I listened, I think, to one track when my girlfriend was in the car, and she was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
She goes, like, is he talking, or is he, like, why is he growling? Why can't he just sing? I was like, that's just the way they do this music. And she's like, I can understand, the song is good, but I wish I could understand what he says.
My wife has told me that she prefers the growling and screaming to the high-pitched singing. I took her to go see Dragon Force and Power Glove. And first of all, she thought that was the greatest thing she'd ever seen, because she hadn't been to too many concerts like that before. Again, I don't think Sean knows this, but Robert has heard me talk about this many times. The concerts that my wife had gone to were like the Dave Matthews Band, Sister Hazel, Fall Out Boy, that sort of thing. And, she'd never really been to a metal show before, and the first one I brought her to was Ministry, so that was a fun experience. But we're at this Dragon Force show, and she's just like, first, all she talked about all night was the Wind Machine and how she had hair jealousy. Like, the hair on Dragon Force, she was looking at them going, she was like, why can't I have hair like that? They don't deserve it. That was what she was focused on.
They do have majestic hair.
They really do.
Yeah,
and it's like 1,000 times more majestic when it's windswept.
I'm sure it is.
Probably why they have the Wind Machine.
That's right. But she absolutely hates like the Iron Maiden, Dragon Force type high pitched singing. She can't stand it. She'd rather hear growling.
3 Inches of Blood.
She every time I play 3 Inches of Blood, she's just like, I would rather stab myself in the knee, and I don't like pain.
You're like, well, get yourself out a lot of pairs of scissors because we're in for a long ride.
Yeah, we've settled on. We created a radio station on Pandora that meets both of our needs. We set it with Weezer, and it tends to flip between like a lot of 90s stuff like Nirvana and a lot of like pop punk that she likes. So that's where we meet. We meet with Weezer in the middle.
Nice.
Oh, Weezer.
Saw them.
They're fun. They're okay.
Yeah, we saw them last year. They were on our bucket list of bands to see, and we had a good time. All right, speaking of good time, let's listen to track 8. This is called Hell with one L. Okay, Robert, what's going on here?
Well, this is the one I was talking about that's much doomier than the rest, and I think the reason why is because I'm sure if you've listened to this song a few times, you notice the clean vocals in this song, and they are Messiah Marcolin. He used to be in Candlemass. He was an amazing singer. You know, I love that band. They're actually a little higher than Amon Amarth on my favorite bands list. But honestly, I think the reason why the vocals are also like even harsher than usual is to actually compensate for the fact that they're to make a nice mirror to the high singing vocals that are in this song. Because, you know, the song itself, I dig it. It's kind of a slower beat. I'm sure Mark was pulling his hair out at it. But yeah,
it was not my favorite song, no.
Yeah, as soon as I was like, yeah, Mark's not going to like this song. But yeah, it is slower and it's kind of simple. It's talking about, basically, I'm assuming this guy is the devil or whatever the Norse devil is. I'm not quite sure who the Norse devil is, but yeah, it's pretty much describing, you know, here's hell, and this is, you know, what's happening in hell, and this is what's going to happen to you in hell, and hell.
Isn't the chick with the big boobs the devil of the Norse gods? The one that claimed Banner's soul in Hulk versus Thor? What's her name?
I can't remember. I don't remember, but hey, you know, I'll take a motorboat.
It's Helena, isn't it? Isn't it like Helena or something like that?
Yes, the internet. Because, I mean, you know, like I said, I'll take a motorboat over a pitchfork in my ass any day.
All right, sure.
Wow.
I mean, hey.
The things we learn about Robert on this podcast.
Oh,
all right. Well,
you've learned more about me through the beards than anything. Jeez.
All right. In the interest of time, let's go on to track. Unless you have a burning desire, Sean, let's go on to track 9. This is.
Hell is the guy who rules over hell. Huh.
All right. Glad we got that settled. Coming of the Tide, track 9. Everybody circle pit! Now everybody do the wall. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I'll just play the song. As much as I was joking around at the beginning of that song, I loved that. I thought that was great. You know, it was just everything I ever could want in a metal song. Moves at a pace that I like. I like the way I like the gallop in it. Just great. You know, but it totally did though remind me of, you know, of some bro with his handkerchief tied around his head and his basketball jersey of not a basketball team, asking, demanding everybody in the concert do a circle pit. Regardless of whether or not that's what they want to do, he demands that you circle pit to Coming of the Tide.
Good old 5-finger donkey punch.
Sean, you missed this a show ago, but I went on a rant about how I can't stand the fact that, you know, there's supposed to be a rebellious spirit in metal, you know, and it's supposed to be counterculture and anti-government, and it's evolved into jazzercise or aerobics where the guy at the stage tells you what to do and you do it without even thinking about it instead of it coming naturally. And, of course, I'm talking about moshing and doing a circle pit and all of that, and it just drives me crazy.
I can understand that. You know, when things evolve into something you're not used to, or it just becomes something completely different than what you remember why you mosh pit in the first place, it's kind of like, why are we doing it again? This isn't moshing anymore. It's just kind of like our form of dancing.
But I think if it should come from within. You know, the rhythm should get you tonight. Dun 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 dun. It should, you should be moved by the music, and if you're not moved by the music, well, that's the band's fault. But I think the guy standing on stage demanding that you do X, Y, Z sort of runs counter to the whole point behind metal, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. The whole point of metal is to have your own freedom of creativity of deciding what you want to do. You're doing it because you felt like it, whether it's the music that fuels you or your love for that music, you're going to do it. And if somebody's standing there going, all right, everybody mosh now, because, this is what we normally do at metal concerts. Okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't quite feel natural. All right, last track of the album here.
Oh, I didn't get to talk about the lyrical themes and how this might tie into an earlier track.
Whoa,
Ooh,
don't
okay.
let me stop you. No, please go ahead.
Yeah, reading the lyrics through this again, like...
All right, we're going to go on to track 10 then. Sorry, just kidding. Funny stuff.
Yeah. This song is actually about, I'm assuming, it might be related to the track about Under Siege. This might be the people who are supposed to come later, because this song is about a force who is, banding together and going to go help their fellow Norsemen. And then when they get there, everybody's gone and dead and, burnt, and nobody's left alive. So then they're going to march on to vengeance. So I'm wondering if they actually, part of this album's about Loki, and then the rest of it kind of tells a story that's all Tarantino-esque about, this. Maybe I'm really stretching for this, but maybe there's actually a method to their battling madness.
Maybe
you would hope so.
I was gonna say maybe they just they had a bunch of different themes they were working on, and then they threw darts at them and said that'll be the album.
This isn't a Mike Patton album.
No, if it were Mike Patton, they wouldn't have used darts.
No. It was thrown an orange at it. Well, it's kind of splattered everywhere.
Breaking news: former Bellator champion Jessica Evil Eye has signed with the UFC. Good for her. Now, moving on.
Woo!
Moving on to track 10. Last track of the album. This is Warriors of the North. Let me first say that this track is 8 minutes and 12 seconds long, so we're in for a ride here. Everybody circle pit. All right, last time I'm doing that, I promise.
It wouldn't fit.
It might. Tell me all about it.
I just adore this track. And the song itself is actually quite interesting because, I remembered most of it because this is another one of the songs where he's actually pretty easy to understand. It's about a story pretty much of a land. It's a whole bunch of warriors, and their king has no heir, and he's getting old. And the next heir is the speaker. It's his son. And the king is scared shitless that maybe somebody will kill him if this kid will get in power. So he pretty much banishes them from the land. And later in the song, there's Christian invaders from the south, it's said. And now these old men have to take up arms and march to a place where they should have already been.
So this is Battleship the movie?
Oh God, no! I'd say this has a lot.
Wow.
This has a lot more to it than that, and a whole lot less Rihanna. Can't forget about less Rihanna.
You said it was about old men who have to pick up arms and fight for their country. Well, that was Battleship.
I thought that was Red.
It was missing Liam Neeson.
Yeah, it was missing that cameo by Liam Neeson that the movie tried to advertise the hell out of. I almost went and saw that movie with my best buddy to go make fun of it.
Why would you go see the theaters?
Well, no, we would have. It was the $250 theater, so it was like $250 a ticket, and we smuggled in really.
Bothered to watch it on DVD.
Oh no, I haven't either. Like we were actually in a really goofy mood because instead we went and saw Prometheus, which was okay. I've not seen any of the Alien movies, so I was not as keen to it as he was. But like through half the movie, he was laughing because I did that one line.
Wait a minute, you've never seen any of the Aliens movies?
Not all the way through.
Okay, you should have made sure you did that before you went and saw Battleship.
Well, what do you mean, Prometheus?
No. I mean, you should have gone to see any of the Aliens movies before you went to go see Battleship.
No, we didn't go see Battleship. We were thinking about it. We went and saw Prometheus instead.
You should see all of the Aliens movies before you think about going to see Battleship.
That's true. See, we would have actually walked in there and made fun of it the whole time, but there was actually a decent amount of people, and I'm sure they wouldn't enjoy us making jokes about how shitty the movie is.
When this podcast is over, you need to go sit down and watch all of the Aliens movies before you go to sleep tonight.
No, actually, I'm going to have to read about the history of my chapter 1 of my history of education book, and then jump on a podcast with Mr. Garmer here, where we annoy the crap out of Randall. Okay, I annoy the crap out of
It's more like go watch the first Alien movie, and the other two you don't really have to go watch.
Well, no, watch the first two. You have to watch the second one. Bill Paxton is amazing in that movie. But
true. And the third one, no.
No,
you can then go watch. And then go watch Species, right?
You can wait until you've got some time to watch 3 and 4 because those are terrible. But you need to stop what you're doing right now and go watch Alien and Aliens right now, Robert Cooper.
Well, but we're doing this really good podcast, or I'm going to ask you later if this made you a fan of the band. So, yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and ask me that now?
Mhm. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, So did it make you a fan of the band? Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. Deceiver. Destroyer of the Universe really made me a fan of the band. But this is a great album. This will definitely be one that I'll go back and listen to when I don't feel like listening to Hatebreed. So it's I actually really enjoyed it. I don't know what I've been missing this whole time and what I've been resistant to listen to.
Now go listen to their other 10 albums.
Yeah, I've got the catching up to do, which is ridiculous because none of them are on Spotify, so it's not like I can catch up there. I have to actually buy an album or two. Which I'm not doing that shit.
Or go on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube's not that. I mean, you're like, I can't find Gilligan in my business. I'm like, hey, Mark, YouTube. You're like, well, that was easy. I'm like, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's not like Pandora where you gotta.
Yeah. Sean, any final thoughts on Deceiver of the Gods?
It surprised me. Like I said, when I first heard that growl, I was like, oh, Lord, here we go. Why did I sign up for this? And, the instrumentation was awesome throughout, honestly. And that last track, the way that they switched through things, is tremendous. Honestly, I love the fact how it starts, then you get into where the growl goes, and you can tell the differences in the story there with the way they change the music around. I think I'm going to be a fan of the band, actually. I might go back and listen to some albums and whatnot. Not that I'm going to just start listening to a ton of music with growl in it or whatever. Just, I think it's more like I enjoy the themes, so I could, and like I said, the music in it is very entertaining that I can get through not understanding half of what he says. That
all right.
It all works in its own vein, I guess.
It does all work. Okay, let's talk about next 2 weeks from now, which will be September 3rd. God, can you believe we're almost getting to the end of the year here?
Oh, man.
Almost a year doing this, Robert Cooper. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we're going to have to do, like I said, we're going to have to do something, like a top 5 albums, or I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Top 5 tracks from Hatebreed that I liked. That's what we're going to do.
All
right.
All that you like. So what do I get to do? Top 5 Megadeth songs to troll Mark with?
No, top 5 Hatebreed songs that you like that I didn't already. We're just going to do that.
As long as you're not doing Super Collider again.
Time to hey, that was a really fun podcast.
Yes, it was. I think the most fun podcasts are the ones where we really hate the album. All right, let's talk about what we're going to do next.
We could always just do Black Sabbath 13 again.
No.
Don't do that to me.
Well, we didn't even do it to you. You didn't even finish the album.
Oh, stop bringing that up. Okay.
I'm still not going to let that go.
So here are my. I'm gonna throw these at you. I get the next pick here. So we need to. If Sean makes it to the show after this one, it'll be his pick since he hasn't had to pick one yet. But then he's he's been in and out of these, so not too sure there. But I'm gonna pick the next one, and then if Sean's back for the one after that, then we're gonna let him go. And these are the ones that I'm going to. Now I'm gonna nominate a few of them, though I'm leaning very heavily on one. And then I'm going to let you decide. Okay, Robert?
Works for me.
All right. The first one I'm nominating, and this is the one that I really, really, really want to do. It is on Spotify, so that helps a lot. Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals, Walk Through Exits Only.
This is on Spotify? I haven't been able to find it.
It is. I just checked before I said that, so we don't have this 20-minute conversation, and then it turns out it's not on Spotify. Five Finger Death Punch, The Wrong Side of Heaven and the Righteous Side of Hell, Volume 1.
No.
Kim Myra, Crown of Phantoms.
That was a good album.
Yeah, it was. I just listened to it the other day. I will tell you that solid. when in September, September 6th, when Ministry from Beer to Eternity comes out, we're going to have to do that one too. But we'll wait till We'll wait till we get there. In the meantime, of those three, which one do you want to do? Is it Five Finger Death Punch?
That is like the far third. This is like the two-legged. This is like the three-legged race.
Pick the Anselmo.
Oh no! Oh dude, I was totally gonna pick Phil. Like that Chimera album actually surprised me because I was not a huge fan of the band before this showed up, and it wasn't a typical metalcore album. It had a lot of different passages. He had a few flares of Meshuggah in there. I was like, awesome. Yeah. I'm totally picking Phil. All
right, I'm good. I'm excited about that. All right, so then the next one that we're going to do is Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals, and that'll be September 3rd. And then after that, it'll be Sean's pick. Sean's going to, what is that? That'll be the 10th. No, it'll be the 17th of September. So by then, the new Ministry will come out, and so that'll be the one he'll pick. Right, John?
I can't stand Ministry, so you might have to skip me on that one.
That's pretty. See, I've never really listened to Ministry, so I have no clue.
I'm not a fan of industrial hardly anything. So
yeah, I'm not a huge industrial guy, but if it's good, it's good.
So Sean's going to pick either Turrisis 2013 or Tarja Turunen, Colors in the Dark.
Those would be actually.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because because Sean reads my column. I pretty much post every fucking thing I can find during the week, so he'll be caught up. he knows it's going to be coming out.
So, Robert, do you know that this is a monumental podcast for us? We actually got through as of this podcast, we got through every single album review we said we were going to do back in May.
Well, yeah, back in May. I was about to say, no, we didn't do Spiritual Beggars or anything like that. But yes,
we set up this list in May. I just deleted it and put Phil Anselmo on there, and then I'm going to put Ministry and Turisis and Tarja on there because that's what Sean's going to pick.
You're going to pick it, Sean, and you're going to like it.
I feel like if I keep saying it enough times, maybe I can use my Jedi mind trick to get him to do what I want.
But yeah, we did get through every day. We almost didn't do this album because I didn't think it was on Spotify, and I didn't think you cared about it. So I almost picked Orphan Land, but it's good that we did pick this.
Yeah. What were we saying, Sean?
I said we shall see on the whole Jedi mind trick.
All right. Sean, go ahead and plug your stuff.
Of course, I'm on the Cooperative Multiplayer podcast, which will be debuting its, I think 9th episode since we lost one.
Yeah, we lost last week.
2 hours from now. Always on Tuesday nights at midnight with Robert and Randall and a few other guys. I am the organizer of the game's Top 5. Last week was Top 5 most wanted Disney Infinity games, which if you have children, I'm sure that your kids have already gotten you to want to play this game. I am a kid at heart, so I've had to stop myself from watching videos of this game so I don't go out and pay $60 for it. And this week is Top 5 Open World games, which isn't my forte, so hopefully people will come and help me out with that. I also do the Wrestling to the Max podcast, which has a Facebook group. Go search Wrestling to the Max. We talk all things wrestling. A friend of mine and we have guests, and hopefully maybe Mark will want to be a guest one day. Robert's been a guest twice, so he can vouch for me. And that's pretty much it.
I think Robert can vouch for me. I will go on any podcast that will have me.
Yeah, he really will.
Cool.
As long as he doesn't have to use anything besides, as long as he doesn't have to record it himself, like physically. Because we saw how Audacity worked for him.
I recorded myself just fine. For some other reason, I just couldn't send you the damn. I couldn't send you the audio. I don't know why. Leave me alone.
It still sucks. Hey, that was still our best episode, so you can take pride in that.
I don't know. I don't think the other two guys really liked me being on. I feel like I talk too much.
Oh. Oh well, I didn't mind it. I like it when we have more people talking. Last week's episode was, or this week's episode was pretty good. You should check it out. So I'm sure you're caught up with it.
Yeah, what do you call it? I am not caught up with the latest with the latest Three Beards. I got to get caught up. All right. So speaking of the Three Beards, go ahead and plug your stuff, Robert.
Okay, let's see. The Hammer of Doom news report every Sunday over Monday when it's on time. Hopefully it'll keep being like that because I have classes and shit that I need to be at. So, I need to get that thing in on time. But yeah, I talk all things metal, all things metal that you'll ever want to hear about. And it's on 411mania.com in the Music Zone, because I never remember to mention that when I plug the column, so it probably might confuse a few people. Yeah. Yeah, I never remember to do that. So it's really funny. In 2 of my classes, I've plugged my column to people, because one of them, the teacher's asking about, what'd you do all summer? And I'm like, I did writing and podcast. She's like, oh, you do writing? I'm like, yeah, I get 3,000-4,000 words a week. Not too bad. She's like, that's good. So yeah, I plug my column to random instructors that I like. The other woman is teaching elementary school kids music. That's the class, and I scared the shit out of her because this is mainly an African American college. So a giant white metalhead is definitely a unicorn there. Oh, it is hilarious because everybody else is like, oh, I like R&B. It's a 7-person class. And I raise my hand with my Suffocation shirt. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a bit awkward, isn't it? But yeah, I have. So yeah, Hammer of Doom. Yeah, I actually said, yeah, I'm the musical Black Sheep. I said that to my mom, and she looked at me and she goes, "You didn't say Black Sheep, did you?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Damn it."
Oh, wow.
Were you drinking Clamato when you said it?
No, but I didn't realize that it sounded like that it was an actual racist phrase until I was like, Black Sheep. I'm like, oh, shit, Milkman, baby.
Anything else,
So
Robert?
anyway, yeah, I have plenty of things. Let's see, this week was in the top 5 in the music zone. It was top 5 worst songs of the summer. My number 2 was Miley Cyrus. Just spoilers. That her new song makes me gonna kill people.
What was number 1?
Oh, my number 1 was this song by this band called the Issues, and they are the worst combination of like there's like kind of like this techno turntables and really, really awful metalcore. Like, I just posted my blurb from Buy or Sell because Jeremy sent it to me one week. It is over, I counted, it's over 600 words. I just exploded. It is really
wow.
awful. You should go listen to it just to see how bad it is. It's only 3 minutes, so it won't be too bad. But yeah, I did the top 5 there. Hopefully I would do the top 5 in the game zone last week. Honestly, my week was so awful last week. It was like Friday, late Friday.
I meant to send you a text and I just forgot.
I was looking at the forum and I'm like, oh, I forgot to do top 5 because I love Disney. I could have done that. I could have put Oliver from Oliver and Company or something. But yeah,
I know I was waiting for that, sir, but he could say, "What the heck is Oliver going to do?"
He's going to summon all the dogs and that hobo guy, of course. But cooperative multiplayer podcast is going to start in an hour, a little under an hour, give or take, depending on when Randall's wife gets home. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to have that.
There's a lot to talk about because a lot of games news came out today.
Oh, snaps. Yeah, I haven't looked at the script yet.
Yeah, PS4 comes on November 15th.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I heard rumors. But yeah, we will have plenty to talk on there. And the Free Beards podcast, the one that Mark loves so much that he's going to listen to tomorrow once he downloads it and goes like on a 4-hour drive to work or something. I don't know how long it takes. But yeah, we'll be, I think you say it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours, some commute. It is an awful commute. But yeah, it's the Free Beard podcast. Imagine your morning show, that you have every morning on the weekday radio, and then turn it up to 11 and add beer and mild racism and stupid news and Ron Paul. and Ron Paul.
Fantastic. All right. This, of course, has been a production of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, we do MMA, we do movies, of course, we do music, as you just heard, and other picture postcards. So a week from tonight, we will be back on the long road to ruin with the first part of our Rambo podcast. We're looking at First Blood and Rambo. Hopefully we'll be able to get that converted also into a video, and it will be uploaded to the Manic Expressions YouTube page. So look for that when it comes out again a week from tonight, first part of Rambo. Last week was the second part of our Mission Impossible podcast with Gavin Napier of thecasualheroes.com. You can also check me out on 2 back-to-back casualhero.com podcasts, one previewing SummerSlam where we mostly talked about The Wire, and after SummerSlam where I had to behave myself and not talk about The Wire. And speaking of The Wire, I will be, this Thursday, I will be on Robert Winfrey's Everybody Loves a Bad Guy, and we are going to be looking at Good Men Gone Bad. And in the first episode of that, we'll be focusing on Oz, and that'll be leading into the big Breaking Bad series finale, which will be happening at the end of September. When that does happen, as we talked about earlier in the podcast, we'll be having a post-wrap-up video cast featuring all us nerds talking about how Walt is going to run for president or something. That's how I see it ending. I see that show ending much the same way The Shield did, but I don't want to get into that now. That's just my prediction. We'll talk about it when it actually happens.
How many people do we have that's already RSVP'd to that? I swear we have like 7.
At last count, we were up to We'll see if everyone actually shows, though.
I'll show up.
We're up to 8.
God almighty.
We're up to 8 and 2 maybes.
Does that include me?
Did you say you were coming?
Yes. You were supposed to send me the invite.
I did. Check your Facebook.
Well, my computers are not in places where I can have where there's people and it'd be too loud, so I couldn't RSVP right this second.
Oh, okay. Well, no, you're invited. It says so right here on my Facebook page. And of course, every Sunday night at 9:00 is the 401 Ground and Pound radio show. The last one was 11 o'clock because of SummerSlam, but we'll be back to our usual Sunday night at 9:00 this Sunday as we preview two MMA shows. Fight Night 27, Martin Kampmann versus Carlos Conduit 2, and UFC 164, Benson Black Jesus Henderson versus Anthony Showtime Pettis 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Do we get 2 shows in a week?
Yes.
Poor Robert. He's got to do that content card too, doesn't he?
Yeah. He has to review. He has to cover for 411 Carlos Conduit versus Martin Kampmann 2.
Conduit. See, I didn't notice you were doing that. Yeah, he bitched on Facebook. He's like, I didn't realize how bad this card was. So I looked at it. I'm like, holy shit, this is like a 2-fight card.
And then the only thing that was even remotely interesting about it, they just pulled because Sarah McMahon got the boogie woogie flu or something. So now Sarah Kaufman is fighting. So with that said,
man, that is awful. Poor Robert.
Yeah, Sarah Kaufman's going to spend her entire first year fighting with the UFC on Invicta cards. That's the way she's going.
Invicta cards. Can she do that?
Yes, she can. All right. So
okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, she can. So that's it for the Metal Hammer of Doom. Thank you for checking out our review of Amon Amarth, Deceiver of the God. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Phil Ansamo and the Illegals. Till then, be well, be safe, and behave.